So I'll give you a little preview. Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome back to my channel, Jamie Sage Knits, where today I'll be sharing my fall knitting plans and pattern inspiration. So if you are a knitter as well, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below, what are you most looking forward to knitting this fall, and do any of these patterns catch your fancy? Before we dive in, I want to share just what I'm wearing right now. It's the very beginning of September, so I'm still making the most of the warm weather we're having here in New York City. I'm wearing my mini mock neck tank by Jessie Made Designs. This is in Mono Stile Uruguay Fino in the color Dog Rose. I absolutely love this little tank. And before I share my fall knitting plans, I want to quickly run through my summer knitting recap. This is something that I've been doing for my past couple seasonal plans. I think it's really fun just to take stock of what I wound up knitting, if there were any patterns that I didn't knit or added into my summer plans. And hopefully that will take just a minute or two before we dive into the fall knitting plans and some patterns that I don't think realistically I'll have the time to knit, but I think are really cool and I wanted to share with you guys. So with that, I'm going to quickly run you through this stack of really cute summer projects. We started off with a tried and true favorite. This is a 9 p.m. tank by Tiffany Ty, and I knit this in the the Golden Pearls in Must You Always Be So Cheerful. It's like this beautiful pastel rainbow. Next, I actually designed my own top, and I have not weaved in the ends. I've not worn it. Doing this video is inspiring me. There's just so many ends because I was like drafting this as I went along, and I just need to sit down for like 30 minutes and just weave them in and then get one or two wears out of it before the summer is over. But this is so pretty. It's in the Wandering Flock in the color Terrace Bridge, which I don't think is available anymore, but it's this beautiful like navy, sky blue, cream, a little variegated. And it has these braided straps, which were very challenging, but I really like the look of. And yeah, I absolutely love this, and I would love to get a couple wears out of it this season. Next up, we had something I carried over, I think from the spring, which was my Avani shirt by Kadri. I knit this in some leftover Drops Flora in the color, I think magenta, is that right? And it's this really nice like V-neck, kind of oversized, drapey shirt, and I think I've gotten one wear out of it this summer. It's not the most summery fabric, since it's like wool and alpaca, but maybe this fall I can wear it as like a layering piece, and I love this like bright statement color, and you'll see I love pink as well. My next project that, actually I don't know if we're going completely chronologically, but approximately next was the Barbo tank by Pernille Larsen. I would say this is probably my favorite knit of the summer. I've worn it probably the most, and I also really enjoyed knitting it. I don't know if it was my favorite to knit, but like the average out of the knitting experience and the wearing experience, this one takes the cake. It is this really cool fan lace motif, and it has a beautiful scoop neck. I knit it in Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the color mint. I'll put everything below. And I love cotton merino. This was super fun to knit up, and just looking at it, I'm like, I love it. I love the little motif. It's so fun and so breathable, comfortable. Yeah, a favorite. Now we have another cotton merino. This one's in the color Strawberry Ice Cream, and this is the August camisole by Joanna Garish. I've talked about this in podcasts. Several mistakes in the pattern. It was not a great knitting experience. I love the final motif. I love the fabric, again with the cotton merino, but I don't love the fit because the straps I think are too centered on my shoulders and it just looks a little weird. However, like I said, there are some aspects that I do like about it, so mixed experience. Next, another tried and true. This is the Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller. This is a Knitting for Olive merino in the color Pink Daisies, and I love this mixed rib design. Now we're getting into a few that I haven't blocked yet, but I have worn this one a couple of times without blocking it, and it looks fine on, but it just needs to be blocked so it'll relax a little bit at rest. But yeah, absolutely love this one. I've already knit one last summer, and I knew I wanted to knit another one. Maybe a third one is in the cards as well. Now we're getting into things that I haven't even shared on my podcast. I shared this almost done on my podcast, I believe, but this is the filigree cami. This is the back, but that is like where the action is. Look at that. That is so beautiful. This is another one of my favorites. It was really fun to knit, and the product is so gorgeous. This is the front. So the front is a little more plain, and then it has this lace edging around the sleeves. This is knit in panels, so it has these little side panels. And then the back is just these little lace panels that are so beautiful. I bought these buttons and I'm really happy with them. They're these like half dome pearl buttons, and I think this is so gorgeous, and I cannot wait to wear it, hopefully a couple times before it gets too cold. And I'll see if I can even style it like over like a plain long sleeve shirt or something for the fall and winter, because I want to get as much wear out of that as possible. And then now we're getting into works in progress that I'm going to carry a little bit into the fall. So this is my Rima tee by Yamagara, and the knitting is all done. I just need to block it. I don't know if I've ever had something that is so in need of a block as this. Like, this is lace and it really needs to relax out. You can barely even see the lace motif, but it is so beautiful. And this is knit up in Murky Depths Yakima fingering in the color Lucia. So gorgeous. And I just need to block it and then add on a little button for the eyelet at the back, and it will be done. So loving that. I don't know if I can really count that as going into my fall plans. And then I have a few works in progress that I'm bringing into the fall, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. The only changes to my fall knitting plans, I think, were that I don't think I even added anything unexpected. I think I just like had some projects and patterns that I was really excited about and followed through with them. I did not make much progress on my self-drafted linen stripe top. I shared that in my last podcast. I haven't worked on it since then. I don't know if I'll carry it into the fall or just try to pick it up next year. Not sure. And I didn't start my Ingrid sweater, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And I also didn't do my second Alana camisole or my twist loop top. I will hopefully do those next spring. But that was a very, very productive summer for me. I honestly still don't feel totally ready to let go of summer knitting, and I have a couple summer whips that I'll bring into early fall. But yeah, I'm just loving the like fingering weight lace, like colorful, and I'm gonna use that as inspiration going into my fall knitting as well. So with that, let us kind of dive in fully. I say kind of because I have a few whips like I mentioned. So first off, this one is kind of fall vibes. This is the Salty Days sweater by Kutovakika, and I think I started this one probably back in the spring, and I did a little bit of work on it over the summer, but it's just like not the most inspiring time to work on a wool sweater. But I am excited to pick this back up and just blast out the sleeves. It's like the only thing I have left to do. So I'm knitting a small on size 5mm needles. It'll probably be fun to go back to those after all this like 3mm summer knitting. And this is KnitPicks Wool of the Andes in the color Blossom Heather. And for this pattern, the bust circumference ranges from 40 to 79 inches with 6 to 8 inches of positive ease, so quite oversized. And like I said, I'm just going to continue forging away at this. This one needs a good block as well. And I'm not sure if I'm going to pick this up immediately or after the next few projects that I'll work on, but I am quite excited to have this done. I think it's really fun, and I think this will be lovely to wear in the fall, and it's kind of a statement piece. So yeah. Next, we have a couple of summer projects that I'm hoping to wrap up before it gets too cold. The first one is the square neck camisole by Helene Beba, and I have been talking about this in my podcast. I'm kind of at an awkward point because I'm doing the neck ribbing, the neck edging, but this is basically a tank top with a squarish neckline, 3x3 ribbing all the way down, and I'm knitting this in Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Dusty Aqua, and I think this is so beautiful thus far. I have finished the armhole edging. I really love the double knit appearance, and I am working away at the neckline edging. So yeah, I think hopefully I'll finish that edging in the next couple of days, and then I'll pick back up on the body and just knit away, and this will be over the next week or two my kind of like subway, hanging out with friends, like don't really have to think about it type project, and hopefully that will get me through to the finish line soon, and I have this much yarn left. So yeah, hopefully that one will be done in the next couple weeks by mid-September. And similar to this project, but this will be more my like evening at home, more engaging project. This is the Vanilla Light Top by Sari Nordland. I talked about this a fair amount in my most recent podcast. I have already finished the front panel. This is the front of it. Love this lace. I think it's so beautiful. So that's the front panel. Now I'm working on the back panel, and I'm going to do the version that is lace all the way down. So I will chip away at this, join in the round, finish that up, and again, hopefully I'll finish this one by like mid-September in order to be able to wear it before it gets too cold, but I'm not too sure about that, so I might have to put this one on pause and pick it up next year. And this one I'm knitting in Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the color Blueberry Ice Cream, which I absolutely love. So yeah, we'll see how much progress I make on this one, and of course I will update in my podcast along the way. And then one other whip that I actually will pick up from last year is my Euterpe socks, also by Starry Nordland, one of my favorite designers. So I have one of them done. Has not been blocked, as you can probably see, and this is for my husband. My feet are not this large. And then in my mind I thought that I had gotten up to like here on the second sock, but actually I'm up to like here. So I am a little disappointed. I don't know why I thought that I had done so much more than I had, but it's a little bit of a kick in the gut, so a little discouraging, but hopefully I'll pick up on this guy at some point. I do feel like once it gets into fall and it's like crisp and cozy, I think that will feel really nice to, you know, have a candle on, be knitting a sock. I don't know, there's something about that feels kind of nice. And this is Malabrigo, I think Ultimate Sock in the color Pearl. Can't believe I just plucked that from the depths of my brain from last year, but pretty impressive. So we'll see how that goes. I've talked on my podcast before, I'm really bad about socks, and I don't know, I guess I could like knit 2 at a time. People have said that, but there's also something that I feel like would be like even worse about that, because I'm having to like be stuck in the boring parts for longer. Whereas at least when you knit 1 at a time, it's like you get to do the toe, and then you're in the foot, which is kind of boring. Then you get to do the heel, then you're in the leg, which is kind of boring, and then you get to bind off, and that's exciting, and then you get to like go through the steps again. So I'm not quite sure. I think I'm just not a huge sock person, because I don't have this issue with like Sleeve Island even. It's just socks. I don't know. But anyway, now we're getting into my planned project. So these are ones that I have the yarn for, definitely want to do. Then I'll talk about some potential projects that maybe I don't have the yarn for, but I'm like leaning towards. And then we'll have some that I don't think are in the cards, but I just wanted to mention because I think they're awesome. So with that, this one I want to cast on in the next couple days and kind of be ready to pick up once I finish my hopefully 2 tank tops. So I'm planning to make the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit, like I mentioned earlier. I was thinking of even starting it this summer, but I was too excited about tank tops and stuff like that. So this is going to be my Rhinebeck sweater with my friend Jenny, and I'm using KnitPicks Wool of the Andes Worsted in the color Haze Heather. So this is a beautiful kind of like bluish lavender, and I think it's a really lovely color. I don't think anything like this. Oh, actually, I don't have anything like this in my winter wardrobe, we'll say, but obviously I do really like this color. It's kind of like bluish purple color, and I love this yarn. I'm using it for Salty Days as well, and it's just like really springy and bouncy and cozy but airy at the same time. So I'm looking forward to knitting this up. It'll be another textured sweater. And I'm thinking of making a video kind of comparing and contrasting the Ingrid sweater and the Salty Days sweater, because I feel like they're both kind of classic textured knits. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. But for this one, I don't know what size I'm making, but I know the range is from 30.5 to 59 inches with around 8 inches of positive ease recommended. So hopefully I'll get started on that soon. Pretty exciting. Once I finish up all those works in progress, then I will allow myself to cast on something new, and possibly maybe the first thing I'll cast on, I feel like I might need just a plain stockinette after all of that ribbing and lace and texture. And so what I have planned is to make another caramel sweater by Petite Knit. I'm not a huge Petite Knit person, but I guess I have at least 2 projects from her in the cards this fall. So I've made a caramel sweater in a beautiful red color, and that is one of my favorite sweaters. It's just like a classic turtleneck. I love the fit of it. I find it so easy to wear. The gauge and like the drape is perfect. So I might just make another of that, or of course I could, you do a different turtleneck or make some adjustments, but I'm leaning towards that. It's like when you know something works for you, why mess with it? And I really want to do like a chocolate brown version. So I think that will be nice to have my bright red version, which is like more bold, and then just a more like neutral. And I don't have any brown sweaters, I don't think. So I'm planning to use this combination, which as you can see, the contrast is a little more than I was expecting or hoping. It's always a risk to buy online, but this is the Knitting for Olive Mohair in chocolate, which is like, this is the color I wanted the whole sweater to be. This is like a perfect chocolate brown. And then this is dark mousse, which online looked warmer and less green. I feel like when I hold them together, it has a very green undertone and it's very cool toned. So I'm gonna knit up a swatch and we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of hoping that the Mohair halo overtakes the Merino, and we'll see how that swatch turns out. And if it's not good, then of course I can save this for another project or sell it and hopefully find a fingering weight yarn that matches better with this mohair. So we'll see how that goes. But I was thinking about like knitting up a swatch sooner, but honestly, I think it's fine. I need to work on my works in progress and I will figure this out later on. But I am really excited for the idea of that like chocolate brown turtleneck. Next up, and I noticed, so I'll give you a little preview. These are my three main projects. So look at that color scheme, so cohesive. Next up, I'm planning to make the Dandelion Honey Cardigan by Anne Hansen, and this is through Bare Naked Wools, which is a cool website I talked about in my last podcast. My friends got me a gift card, and it is all undyed, mostly natural yarns. I think that's really cool. So this is like straight off the sheep, I think. I mean, not obviously it's like processed, but this is undyed. It's just the color of the sheep. And this is Kent lace in the color Beach Glass, which is this really pretty like kind of taupe color. And I thought the Dandelion Honey Cardigan was so beautiful. I'm really into lace right now, in case you can't tell. And I like that there's certain modifications that you can make. You can do a V-neck or a scoop neck, short sleeve or 3/4 sleeve, cropped length or tunic length. So you can really like adjust it to your preferences. I'm planning to definitely do a V-neck, a 3/4 sleeve, and then probably crop length, but I'm not quite sure. It's hard because it's bottom up, so you can't just like figure it out at the end. So I'll probably look more through the pattern photos and see what I think. I believe all of their sample photos are of cropped length, which is kind of annoying because I'm like, okay, then how long is the tunic length? But we will see. And I typically do err more towards cropped length things, so I might just do that. But I do have enough yarn to do either. And for this pattern, the bust ranges from 33 to 68 inches with 2 to 6 inches of positive ease recommended. Like I mentioned, it's knit bottom up, which is not the most ideal, but whatever. And it has this gorgeous lace motif and a 1x1 ribbed button band. I've never knit a cardigan or a button band before, mostly because of my dislike of flat knitting. But I feel like this summer I've kind of overcome my dislike of flat knitting. So I am excited for this cardigan. I will do a little research on button bands. I've kind of heard some dialogue in some of other knitting creators that I enjoy watching their podcasts and their commentary, and they've, I think, said some things about how like the 1x1 rib button bands can like warp or stretch in ways that are unflattering, and people tend to really like the double knit, but I don't know if that would look cohesive with the more like rustic vibe of this cardigan. And I do like how the 1x1 rib button band looks in the pattern photos or like sample photos. So we'll see. We'll figure it out later on, but I'm very excited for that. And this is my first time using lace weight yarn, but I don't think it's, I should have put what, I don't know what needle size it's on, but I don't think it's anything too crazy. It's maybe like 3.5 or something like that. And I just think it'll be so gorgeous, and it has a very like earthy, slightly rustic design, but also a little delicate. And I do really like that lace motif and the construction of it. So I'm very excited to get into that. I don't think I mentioned this is 60% Merino, 40% Romney. I've never used Romney wool before, so I'm very excited. It has a slightly rustic feel. Oh, there's a little like piece of hay. And the yarn is like quite lofty, like it's very springy. You can pull it taut, it becomes much thinner. So yeah, I think that'll be a really special project. It'll remind me of my friends who got me that gift card. And then this is my final formally planned project, and honestly I think that will be a lot to keep me occupied because I have those works in progress. I have my whole Ingrid sweater to do before Rhinebeck, and then I have like a more plain stockinette project in the caramel sweater, as well as that lace cardigan. But hopefully I'll have time to squeeze in one more, and that is the Champagne Pullover, again by Sarah Nordland. Like I said, she's one of my faves. This is such a beautiful, intricate cable pullover. I think it's so pretty, and I think it would be really fun to knit up, and I also really like the end result. I loved the sample photo on Ravelry. It's this nice neutral cream color. It really shows off the cables and the lace quite nicely, so I thought I would follow in those footsteps, and I decided to use Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Marzipan and Soft Silk Mohair in the color Cloud. So again, this is two different colors, but I really like how these two go together. I just think Cloud is a little bit more yellowish, which I was going for. Marzipan is quite like neutral, leaning cool toned, so I wanted to balance it out, warm it up a little bit, because I have neutral to warm leaning undertones. So I think that'll be really nice. And I had some Marzipan left over from my summer knitting plans that I don't know, I just kind of lost my interest in using it for a summer project, so I decided to bring it into the fall. I don't think I mentioned the bust for this sweater ranges from 37.5 to 69 inches with 8 inches of positive ease recommended. So I'm looking forward to this beautiful, intricate lace and cable project, and we'll see. I think that will keep me, like I said, very occupied, but you never know. If I have a lot of knitting time this fall, maybe I'll have the opportunity to squeeze in a couple more projects. So now I'll mention a few that are like potential. Maybe I have some of the yarn or potential yarn, but I'm not fully committed. The first one is I don't think I have any color work up in here, which is wild because last winter I was very into color work and I could see myself getting back into it, especially with the Lillehammer sweater by Ellis Knitwear. So I actually made and test knitted the Arundel sweater by the same designer last winter. And I had it in the back of my mind that I also might want to do the Lillehammer. You can see I'll put up the photos. They're the similar or same style and fit, but the colorwork motifs are like, you can see that they're the same vibe, but they're pretty distinct. So I think it'd be fine to have both. But I was thinking, like, I made the Arundel in a very classic color combo of navy and white, so I would probably want to do like a more fun and out there color combo for the Lillehammer. Also for the Arundel, I used the suggested yarn of Drops Lima since I was test knitting, but for the Lillehammer, I am thinking about doing a fingering plus mohair to still make that DK weight, but just add another different element to it. And I really liked doing color work with a fingering weight plus mohair for my baby sweater last year, so could be fun. And I was thinking of using red and pink because I have seen a lot of, designs and like in knitting and elsewhere, and that's kind of like a trend, but also maybe kind of a classic combination. So I have some leftover Drops yarn from my caramel sweater and my baby sweater. Where is it? Oh yeah, I put it over here. So this is Drops Flora and Drops Kid Silk in red, and then I have in pink. There's a few Kid Silks that could go along with this. There's like light pink, old pink, and pastel pink. This is old pink. This is all I have left over, but I wanted to bring it to show that actually I'm not the hugest fan of this contrast. I feel like this is just a little too light and cool toned, and I feel like if I added in this, it would just balance it out a little bit more, and it wouldn't be like quite as stark. I want it to obviously be like a good contrast for color work, but I really like this old pink tone, how it's maybe a little bit like warmer, and yeah, I think that'd be beautiful. So I just have to order a little more of this one and then a lot more of this, and maybe go ahead with that color work sweater. But also, I'm talking about my fall plans, but of course, winter also exists. So maybe some of these plans will carry over into winter, and that Lillehammer sweater I think would be a really fun one to work on in the winter. The sizing for that ranges from 41.5 to 73.5 inches with 10 to 12 inches of positive ease recommended, so quite oversized. And if you're thinking of doing this pattern, just be advised that it does call for steeking of the armholes and collar. I learned from my first experience steeking it's actually not that bad at all, and I think this could be a fine first steeking project to do. If you do it without mohair, I would say it's easier to use a sewing machine for the reinforcements, but I used mohair in my first sweater that needed to be steeked, and it's fine. But I did find the Arundel without mohair a bit easier to navigate. Another thing I'll say is that I'm not sure about this pattern, but the Arundel pattern does call for a 7-stitch steek bridge. I think that's unnecessarily wide. I would recommend probably 5 stitches instead of 7. So that is all I have to say about that one. And then next up we have another petite knit pattern. What is going on? This is the Friday Slipover V-neck. And when I was deciding what to do with this leftover red yarn, I was considering making a slipover since I think I would have enough yarn for that. And I probably would like to make this slipover, but maybe in a more neutral or light color. And I looked through all of Petite Knit's slipovers because I tend to really like her slipover style. They're very like classic, and I like how she has like slight differences between them, and this is like the optimized one for me. I like the V-neck. I like the broken rib texture to add a little bit of interest, and I think the edging looks very classic and elegant. And I really like how in one of the samples she held a mohair that's slightly darker for the body to create like a marled effect, but then she uses a matching mohair for the edges. I might kind of imitate that. I don't know if I'll make it this fall necessarily, but maybe in the winter, maybe in the future. I think it would be really fun. And the bust of this pattern ranges from 36 to 61 inches with around 2 inches of positive ease recommended, so pretty fitted. I just think this is very classic and is like something that could be styled in a lot of different ways, which is fun. All right, a couple more potential, and this one I think is maybe too optimistic, but I really loved this and I really want to knit more dresses. I think I mentioned that in my Make 9 or 2025 knitting goals or something like that. Have I knit a dress? I don't think so. So maybe it'll happen. This is the Twig Dress Light by Lene Ricks. And even though this is a tank dress, I think it would be nice year round because you could wear it with like, a cardigan or a layer over it to get more wear out of it. And the recommended yarn is a cotton wool yak blend and a DK weight, so that's interesting. I was thinking maybe the Knitting for Olive cotton merino held double could be a good option as well. And this dress is knit in broken rib, so it might be a little tedious, but could be a good one to just kind of like pick up and put down over time, intersperse with other projects. And the bust fits a range from 29.5 to 51 inches with around 6 inches of negative ease recommended for a fitted shape. So we'll see. This would be probably a labor of love, but would be a really cool end product. And then finally, this one I could see myself squeezing in because it's an accessory. So this is the Mood Beanie by Spectacle Streak. I really love Spectacle Streak's designs. I think she has a very like bold style, especially with colorwork motifs. And I just love this beanie so much. I think it's so fun, and I love how the like main color and contrast color swap in this motif. It calls for 350 meters of DK weight yarn, I think in total. And so it's 50 grams of yarn for each color. So I think that would be a great way to use up some leftover yarn from a larger project, and calls for a DK weight yarn, but could be fun to use a fingering plus mohair if you want like a fuzzy effect. But in that case, I would just recommend definitely using like a high color contrast because the mohair obscures a little bit of the color work, but typically as long as you use like a high contrast color combination, it should be fine. And this hat has 3 sizes to fit a head circumference of 19 to 25 inches. So definitely could see myself making this for myself or maybe as a gift. Fall knitting is a great time for making gifts. Alrighty, now we're getting into things that there is no chance of me making this fall, maybe in the winter, maybe next fall, I don't know, but I just wanted to mention them because I think they are beautiful and just wanted to put the inspiration out there. So first up we have the Birkin Polo by Pendler Strick. And I think this shirt is so gorgeous. It looks store-bought in the best way. Like I think sometimes when you're knitting, it's fun to have something that obviously you've made or looks handmade. But then sometimes it's like so satisfying when you're like, this looks like I bought it in a store. And I feel that with this polo. I've seen a few different shirts with this kind of polo color. I feel like that's been kind of a trend. And I really love this one with the ribbing and the fitted shape, like it's like a fitted fit, but I feel like that's redundant to say, right? Like it's fitted. And I love the little collar. I feel like it's not too big or too small. And it's knit up in a fingering weight with wool or cotton merino blend recommended. Is knit top down, which is nice, with all over 2x2 rib, has satin sleeves, and it has a lovely aesthetic seam for the shoulder and arm shaping in the back, which I love. And the bust ranges from 28 to 43 inches with 2 to 4 inches of negative ease recommended, so not the most expansive range, but I did want to mention it because I think it's very beautiful. And like I said, there's other similar styles that you could find, but this is just the one that speaks to me the most. Next up, I wanted to mention the Honey Tea by Brown & Mason. I think her patterns are so pretty, but I haven't had the chance to try one yet, but they tend to be very classic and elegant with lovely feminine details. And I love this tee, the stripes of cables, the ribbing, the slightly slouchy, kind of oversized fit. And I also really like the yarn used in the sample. It just looks so smooth and buttery, and it is apparently a sport weight cotton. So the finished bust ranges from 36 to 68 inches with 6 inches of positive ease recommended, so a great size range there. And this one, I mean, it's not necessarily super fall vibes, but I think this could be a fun one for like early fall, get a little bit of use out of it if you live in a more moderate climate, and then bring it into the spring. And next up we have another similar vibe of like a t-shirt that could be for early fall, and then you get to pull it out in the spring. This is the Anise top by Irene Lin. And Irene Lin, I feel like, is another designer who makes lovely patterns with very charming feminine details. And her Lyra tee has been a very popular pattern, but I might like this one even more. It's knit with an open gauge and these lace motifs at the bottom of the body and of the sleeves. It also calls for sport weight yarn. The recommended yarn is Gepard Garn Horse Silk, which is 70% linen and 30% Tussa silk. So the finished bust ranges from 39.5 to 63 inches with 0 to 4 inches of positive ease recommended. And yeah, like I said, this one's so gorgeous. I don't know, I feel like this one could be like a very springtime knit as well, but maybe it's, like I said, I'm not ready to let go of summer knitting, so I'm like, how can we make this more fall appropriate? So I just wanted to include that one here in case you're in a similar boat, or maybe you're in a place that is more moderate and where you can wear t-shirts a lot later into the season. And then we have another beautiful kind of feminine details pattern. This is I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Erinome, I don't know, Erinome sweater by Lily Kate France. This one has quite an open gauge. It seems perfect for transitional seasons, but also it could be layered. And there's a really interesting texture added using apparently an elongated stitch pattern. The pattern calls for a heavy lace or light fingering on 3.75 millimeter needles, so I think that would create a very light and drapey fabric. And I love the gathered cuffs and the tie waist, so beautiful. And Lily Kate France, again, is an awesome designer. I think she puts a lot of thought into like the tailoring and the small details of her patterns. And so this one has a finished bust that ranges from 40 to 72 inches with 10 inches of positive ease recommended, so quite drapey, oversized. Just a few more. Next up, I was thinking about the Silene vest by Emma Meyer. I really like this one. Very different vibe, not as feminine, a little more bold, and I love the cool textured effect that is created. And I think this is the same designer as the Clematis vest, so I admire her creative and fun vest designs. This calls for a DK weight yarn on 4mm needles. I think that's like a lot of people's sweet spot. We love a 4mm DK pattern. And personally, I would lean towards using an actual DK weight yarn with nice definition as opposed to like a fingering plus mohair. I think that would just let the texture shine a bit more. And the bust ranges from 30 to 52 inches with 1 to 2 inches of positive ease recommended. So pretty much fitted. I think this one's so cute and again could be styled in a lot of different ways. I love a good vest. Next up, I don't even know how I ordered these actually, but we have a couple more sweaters and then a couple of accessories. So I noticed the Rosy sweater by Lynette, so from the designer of the iconic colorwork designs, the porcelain sweater, the terracotta sweater, the Inga sweater. Now comes a new release of this charming horizontal rose motif. I find it kind of subtly feminine, a little cottagecore vibes. I think it would be a lovely project for fall, even though it has a floral element. It's not a super like springtime floral. And it calls for a DK weight with fingering plus mohair on 4.5mm needles, so a little looser gauge. Apparently the construction is a combination drop shoulder and raglan that allows you to avoid knitting the colorwork flat, so that's great. And the sizing ranges from 40.5 to 63 inches with 8 to 12 inches of positive ease recommended. I really like the color combination used in the sample, but of course you could do a more colorful flower or whatever tickles your fancy. All right, last garment is the Bolcher sweater by Erica Bernson. And if you've seen my prior videos, you know I love a good 2-color brioche sweater, especially with shaping. So this pattern has really cool curves around the waist, and it's knit in a fuzzy, bulky weight yarn on 5mm needles, so it'd be probably super cozy and pretty quick to knit up. and the bust ranges from 36 to 50.5 inches. I love the bold colors used in the sample, but of course, again, whatever is up your alley and in line with your aesthetic. But I think this one is super fun, and maybe I will knit this up in the winter. And now we have a couple of accessories. So first up, the Painting Bricks cowl by Stephen West. I think Stephen West is such an iconic designer. I've never made a design yet, but I really like this one. I think it's a really cool textured and colorwork cowl. Another great scrap yarn project. You can use DK weight yarn or fingering held double, and you need 320 meters or around 150 grams of yarn for the main color, and then 274 meters for the contrast color. Split up however you'd like. And I believe the fabric is knit double, which makes it thicker and cozier and also adds to the required meterage. So I just think this one is like super interesting, bright, fun, but of course you could do it with like a neutral background and just a single contrast color, or, you know, anything in between. And then we have the Pinwheel Socks by Summer Lee. I know I mentioned I'm not a sock person, but I kind of wish that I were, and if I were, I definitely would make these. I think the colorwork motif is so fun, and this is another great example of a scrap yarn project for fingering weight yarn. The sizes range to fit a foot circumference of 5 to 10 inches. And the last thing I want to mention is a decor item, which is a holiday pillow. And of course, there's a lot of options out there. I just wanted to highlight a few by this designer, Martin Story. So there's the pine forest cushion, the fir cushion, the midwinter cushion. I think all of these are beautiful and really fun, call for a DK weight, and they could make a great gift or just a fun project to kind of chip away at and have ready for the winter decor. I think that would be a really special thing to, you know, bring out each year that you made and just like have it be a part of your seasonal decor. So I wanted to mention that. It's kind of unusual, and I'll keep that in the back of my mind. I don't know if I'll have time to knit it this year, but maybe next year. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. I feel really excited about the fall and fall knitting now. And like I mentioned before, I would love to hear in the comments, what are you planning to knit this fall? Or did you find inspiration from any of the patterns I mentioned in this video? And I hope that you will consider subscribing to follow along with my fall knitting in my podcasts. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.